Well, guys, the death of the disc is official. Since Sony has announced its timeline to end PlayStation disc production, making an all-digital ecosystem basically inevitable at this point, major publishers like Take-Two are jumping on board and publicly confirming that physical discs no longer make any sense for major game launches. So, guys, this isn't just a natural shift. You see, Sony is leading the charge right now because it is the dominant market share. And publishers, well, they're all too eager to line up behind them. So, kick the intro, guys, and let's get into this shit.
Here's the guy that's just in the nick of time. What does that make us? Big damn heroes, sir. Ain't we just? Run! Get to the chopper!
The rendezvous is 10 to 12 miles away. You think the chopper's gonna wait?
Dylan, we make a stand now, there will be nobody left to go to the chopper.
What is going on, gamers? It's your boy Chopper, aka Ragged, and I am back with another video about Sony and their effect on the digital marketplace, or more so, soon to be the only marketplace. Because as we know, Sony PlayStation has announced that they are getting rid of all physical media as of 2028. Now, as I stated in the intro, a lot of publishers are starting to line up behind them. And when you have people like Take-Two, specifically, and Grand Theft Auto 6, one of the biggest games that's probably ever going to be released until Grand Theft Auto 7 or something even bigger comes out. But they're lining up now and stating that they just don't see the point. They don't see why they should do it. What's the purpose? Everybody's going digital anyways. And this, guys, it's where it's going to get a little bit interesting, because before we get into some of the information said by the head of Take-Two, I want to actually look at something that shows why Sony doing this is such a big deal, why their market share is so powerful that they will steer the entire industry straight into digital only, even Xbox. So let's hop on over to Twitter and take a look. So we hop on over to Twitter and we see Hunter here, next gen player, always great for information on the industry. PS5 is the most played console in the US by a wide margin. Statista research is showing that 46% of the respondents are playing on PlayStation 5, 33 on Switch, 27 on PS4, 23 on Xbox One, 21 on Series, and 17 on Switch 2. Now, guys, I know looking at this data, it very clearly states that that's a lot more than 100%. But what you're not taking into account here when you read this is the people that play across multiple systems. So this data is going to be just that. And let's take a look at the graph here. When we bring the graph up, it's pretty clear cut. And as you can see, the PlayStation 5 is including the Pro as well. But the really interesting thing here, guys, is that the Xbox One is outpacing the Xbox Series X and S. That's an interesting one. We still have PlayStation 3 on this graph as well. And if we look down to the bottom, we can see 3,200 US respondents surveyed between 2025 and 2026. So this is very relevant data on why Sony has the power to shift the market the way they want it to. So when we look at this data, when we see what is being presented with us and the fact that Sony PlayStation is 46 and 27% of those shared, out of 100%, 46% of the populace is playing on a PlayStation 5, and 27% of that same populace across multiple consoles is also playing on a PlayStation 4. That right there is power. When you have that much sway in a marketplace, you can dictate what you want to do. But the thing here is, guys, when you get publishers to back you, specifically some of the biggest in the world, when the biggest game in the world is coming out, it changes the game. And it just makes this inevitable at this point. And that's why we're going to take a look right now over at the Take-Two article and the consensus on that. And if we bounce on over to Gaming Bolt here, we can see that Take-Two Interactive CEO says discs don't make sense to the consumer. So during an earnings report, Strauss Zelnick also spoke about the conveniences offered by games being available through digital means. So, with Sony's announcement that it is ending the production of PlayStation discs from 2028 onwards, becoming a major subject of discussion, the Take-Two Interactive CEO has expressed his own opinions on the matter. So, as caught by Dexerto, Zelnick said that he has a strong preference for digital media to the convenience it offers. Along with this, he noted that 90% of the company's game sales tend to be digital copies. Discs don't make sense to the consumer. Digital, it's more convenient. Our sales are 90% digital. So during an earnings call, Zelnick said that the digital media is where the world is going and said that discs specifically tend to make less sense for a big game release. And he followed that up by saying, so in certain instances, especially if it's a big game, discs just, and note that I said discs, don't really make sense for the consumer. Also, in most instances, you have to register online to play anyhow. So if you're already connected, who cares if you download digitally? It's all the same and it's much more convenient. So that's where the world is going, in our opinion. And I think Sony understands that. We certainly understand that. It doesn't mean that we won't have physical editions now and then. I'm sure we will in the same way that there's still vinyl in the recorded music business, but in other instances, it just won't make sense. Zelnick's words echo the sentiment of former Valve writer Chet as well, who also has spoken out about how consumer trends have played a larger role in Sony's decision to end disc production, that any grand conspiracy regarding the ownership of games. He pointed to the fact that digital game sales have risen in large part due to how convenient they tend to be. So looking at this, we can see for ourselves, they're going to be going forward with this. And honestly, I don't think it doesn't really matter what we do unless we massively boycott, unless they get hit so hard that they decide to change their mind. We've reached the point where this almost seems like it's inevitable. Now, I do own a lot of digital games, but as I've told you guys in the past, obviously with Steam, I don't have any options, and that's where a lot of my game purchases have been going. But through PlayStation, a lot of my games of late have been digital. That's because I have a PlayStation credit card and I use the points specifically to get my games and pay for my PS service. That doesn't mean that I still don't feel like I own those games. That doesn't mean that I feel like they're not mine. I still had to put a resource into that to get those. So I don't like the idea that somebody could take them, and I am now looking into acquiring the vast majority of my games on physical discs to back them up, because this sort of thing just kind of bothers me. But see, I'm not the only one that's bothered by this. There's a lot of other people online that are bothered by this as well, and a lot of very prominent people are still out there fighting that battle in the trenches every day. No disc, no buy. You want to see? Check it out. And as always, we got Rhino at the head of the line. PlayStation Disc Store added a note on PS5 consoles and disc drives along the attachable drive regarding ending physical games. From January 2028, newly released games on PlayStation will be available for purchase on the PlayStation Store and at retailers in digital format only. Discs for games released before January 2028 can continue to be played on this console. And there he is, as always, no disc, no buy. And guys, the one thing that we're really not talking about here, the one thing that we're really not addressing here, and the one thing that I think we really need to talk about here, it's not really the ownership thing. It's a very big part, yeah, but for those of you that live in cities, for those of you that live in areas, and for those of you that live in a world where you do have fast internet, for access to movies, gaming, takes you a couple hours to download an 80, 90 gig game. Remember, there are still a lot of people living in areas, not just the United States, but around the world, that still don't have the speeds that we do. They don't have 500 gigs. A lot of these people are operating on DSL still in some areas. So imagine when you get your new game that something like that takes days to download. Imagine that when you get your new toy, your new hobby, that it's going to take you days to download. See, this is the thing that we really don't discuss a lot when we talk about this. We talk about how we're losing our right to ownership. We talk about how we're losing our right to have these games. But what we don't talk about is the fact that a lot of the world is still not 100% caught up to us internet speed-wise. So we got an article here from GameSpot from Heidi Kim stating who gets left behind in Sony's all-digital future. So she stated, I asked Shauna Gardner, who is located in the rural area of Wisconsin, for her input. She said she had already switched to digital-only purchases upon getting a PlayStation 5. I don't have much storage space for physical media, and I don't trade in games, so it made sense for me to switch to downloads. However, the choice came with some downsides. I've bought games that take multiple days to download over a DSL internet connection, or pre-ordered games with an early download perk just so I could play on day one. I have spent evenings kicking everything else off the internet so I could download the bulk of a game overnight to minimize impact on my online activities the next day. Then we go to the hidden burden of library game collections. So another big concern is for some is how the lack of physical games would affect public libraries. Much like other media such as movies and music, certain library systems also loan out video games to patrons. So whether a library offers games obviously varies widely depending on the city or county where it's located. My county's library system, the Multnomah County Library, doesn't offer video games for loan at all, while the nearby city of West Lynn does. So I was surprised to learn that alongside many libraries simply not handling games at all, many have already been scaling back their game offerings. Games are expensive compared to books and movies, and compared to other media, they're more commonly lost by borrowers, leading libraries to cut down on their purchase. Some libraries have observed dwindling popularity of game checkout when compared to kids simply using the library's PCs and tablets to play games like Minecraft, Fortnite, and Roblox. The global reality of going digital. Video games are a global hobby, but the gaming experience for those in developing nations is significantly different from those in North America. Many countries don't even have their own PlayStation store. They rely instead on making accounts assigned to other territories and using credit cards to purchase games digitally. So how would discontinuing physical games affect gaming in these territories? Well, I think that it will basically kill any gaming-specific shops, like PT Games, a well-known South African specialty retailer, an avid game from South Africa who opted not to have their name published, told me. So considering the limited spending power here, casual gamers will be pissed they can't swap or trade them in for credit, while hardcore gamers will be concerned that they don't really own the games. I wonder if people here, particularly in lower LSM, living standards measures, a South African research term similar to the concept of socioeconomic class, actually rely on the used game market to get into gaming because they can't necessarily afford new games or systems. Even in my LSM, I looked for used games and heavy discounts. And then we go to the last bit. Are fighting players KO'd? So as a fighting game player, being able to go to a local and regional meetups and tournaments is very important. Many of those events are run by individuals or groups of local tournament operators who volunteer their consoles to be used during the events. This often requires having many copies of games to run. And after seeing some speculation online that gaming tournaments could be hurt by the digital-only mandate, I wondered, does not having a disc as an option make running tournaments harder? In truth, not really. Tabby is a frequent TO and even volunteer who helped runs the Just Block tournament series for the Pacific Northwest fighting game community. She says that discs going away wasn't a big deal at all. Discs are an extra thing to be misplaced or stolen at events and don't actually allow you to run the game on more consoles than current digital offerings, she said. Discs can also be one more thing to worry about during event setup and teardown. So will the end of physical PlayStation discs completely disrupt certain gaming communities? Going from these responses, the answer seems to be not really. But this is also a very small look at a very large topic. So regardless, it seems as though many have started to begrudgingly embrace an all-digital future, even if it is inconvenient for them. Others are finding ways to get around some of the restrictions that digital DRM imposes on them, or even just turning to outright piracy. Some expressed a bit of relief not having to worry about discs being lost or stolen anymore, but notably, not even the people who found discs a hassle seemed keen on the decision to kill consumer choice. So guys, to sum up the shift, Sony holds all the market power here. Publishers have the financial incentive, and consumer habits are, as we can see from this small pool of data that they presented, they're sealing the deal. Physical discs will soon become a collector's item, a niche market, and it's kind of heartbreaking as somebody that loves that tactile thing. That ability to have the shelves full of games, movies, anything along that lines, we've watched the medium change. Going from cartridges that we used to have to blow out to, I remember, little insert carts, to the first time we got discs, those getting scratched to hell and just games not really working very well anymore. And then we went to Blu-rays. And yeah, I mean, with the cost of games going the way they are, with games reaching in the hundreds of millions, and I'm sure there's people that have speculated that Grand Theft Auto is like something like $1.5 billion to make. And the reality is a game like that is going to make its money back. But for a lot of the developers that are moving into new IPs or IPs that they're worried about, this doesn't really seem like much of an option and much of a choice for us to proceed forward anymore. We have a lot of things going on, and yeah. So if you're not happy with this one, Xbox is talking they might still offer the drive, but it doesn't really matter, I think, in this instance. Even if Xbox wants to be the last holdout, thinking that they're going to generate a couple million more in sales from, the pickup of customers, it's possible. But the reality here, guys, is it's over. I don't think we have enough market power to force Sony to change. And even if we did at this point, it doesn't seem like it's just Sony that we're going to have to force to change anymore. It's now seeming like it's a lot of the major publishers out there. And this is very much a David versus Goliath. And I don't think we have that stone to take this one down, though. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do you think with all this information that I presented to you that we actually have a chance? Do you think that this is going to go somewhere positive? What do you think? Let me know below. Are you already digital? How much of your share is digital? Are you going to buy digital, or are you just going to say screw consoles and I'm going to go to Steam and GOG, and I'm going to end up getting a lot of my games that way from now on? So as I said, as always, guys, and as I've always said, a like and a sub go a long way. If you're digging the content, I really appreciate you hanging around, and I really appreciate you helping me grow the community. And I really, I appreciate you guys being a big part of what I'm doing right now. The subscriber count keeps going up. The viewers are doing great, and you guys are tuning in, and I love it. And I'll keep making videos if you guys keep watching them. So till the next time, as always, guys, I hope you're having a most awesome time wherever in time you are when you have the time to watch this video. So have a most excellent one. Love what you're playing, play what you love, watch what you love, and love what you watch. Till the next time. Later.